Intimate partner violence is rarely addressed as an issue of concern in the workplace. Because in most cases intimate partner violence originates in the home, it can be difficult for an employer to know the role of the workplace in managing this problem. Despite this, there is evidence to suggest intimate partner violence may originate from or become exacerbated by poor workplace culture. Additionally, intimate partner violence may have significant impact on the workplace by way of decreased staff performance and productivity, increased staff turnover and absenteeism, and compromised integrity of the organisation. Furthermore, given the average Australian spends 40 hours per week at his or her place of employment, the workplace is well poised to influence broad social change. Under international human rights law, it is well established that domestic and family violence is a violation of human rights. This sentiment is reflected in government policy in a variety of ways. For example, within Australia, federal, state and territorial legislation prohibits discrimination and requires employers to create workplace environments that are safe and free from violence, discrimination and harassment. Similarly, the US Department of Justice has organised workplace violence into 4 primary categories, including Type 4 violence, which refers specifically to violence committed in the workplace by a perpetrator who is not an employee but has a personal relationship with an employee. The Australian Human Rights Commission highlighted that in 2002, the cost of intimate partner violence in the Australian economy was estimated at $8.1 billion. This cost was projected to rise to $9.9 billion annually by 2021 if no preventative action was taken. As such, over the last decade, we have seen more emerging information and government support for addressing domestic violence-related concerns in the workplace. Most recently, the Fair Work Commission announced a new clause to be added to all industry and occupation awards to allow employees to take unpaid leave to deal with domestic violence-related concerns. Despite this step in the right direction to address the workplace relevance of intimate partner violence, the primary focus is commonly on assisting victims of domestic violence post hoc. Conversely, there is little in place to assist with the prevention of intimate partner violence. As already discussed, many factors may contribute to intimate partner violence, including environmental and biological factors. It is difficult to ignore the broad and pervasive evidence that intimate partner violence is gendered. That is, most domestic violence is committed by males towards females. Marina discussed the finding that individuals with low activity alleles of the MAOA gene are more reactive to environmental stresses than those with high activity versions of the same gene. That low activity versions of the allele are more likely to occur in males than females, who have 2 copies of the gene, is consistent with the gendered statistics of domestic abuse. Rebecca also discussed how the exacerbation of intimate partner violence may be illustrated by the Duluth model, which suggests women are vulnerable to violence due to unequal social, economic and political positions in society. Thus, the gendered nature of intimate partner violence may be attributed to a socially reinforced sense of entitlement for men to exercise control over women. Consistently, it has been found that intimate partner violence is more common in groups with more traditional patriarchal ideals of masculinity and strictly defined gender roles around work. In 2012, the Australian Human Rights Commission released a condemning review into the treatment of women in the Australian Defence Force, recommending serious cultural change to address gendered harassment, victimisation and abuse. The Commission revealed major gender inequality in the ranks, in which women represented only 13.8% of the workforce. Of the 170 star-ranked positions, only 6 were held by a woman, and 25% of female recruits had experienced sexual harassment in the past 5 years. There is evidence to suggest occupational segregation by gender can reinforce toxic gendered norms. Such segregation may be vertical, that is, men occupying the top positions in an occupation, or horizontal, where women and men perform different jobs within a particular occupation. And indeed, in the Australian Defence Force, it is both. Consistently, the National Community Attitudes Survey has illustrated men who have low levels of support for gender equality and who value traditional gender role attitudes that legitimise violence as a method of resolving conflict are more likely to commit violence against an intimate partner. In understanding environmental and genetic factors which may exacerbate gendered abuse, as per the diathesis stress model, we might better understand particular environments which reinforce toxic gender roles may increase a diathesis for gendered abuse and domestic violence subsequently. A robust study of evidence has shown causal links between work and family domains by way of a spillover mechanism. Spillover refers to the means by which values, affect, and behaviour developed in one domain can directly influence values, affect, and behaviour in another. This may be intentional or unintentional. In reviewing the means by which intimate partner violence may originate from or become exacerbated by environmental factors, we can begin to understand the potential of the workplace to exacerbate the problem. As the workplace has this potential, so too does it have great potential to prevent domestic abuse. Whilst most costs of intimate partner violence are borne by victims and their children, domestic abuse also impacts the workplace when the employee is a perpetrator of intimate partner violence. This may occur through absenteeism related to court matters, compromised integrity of the organisation if outsiders learn of the abuse, and if co-workers become aware of the abuse, this may have a negative impact on the productivity of co-workers. Not only is it in the interest of an organisation's profitability and legal obligation to address intimate partner violence, it may also be adopted as a form of corporate social responsibility to further social good. A recent study reviewed one clothing label's adoption of domestic violence as a matter of corporate social responsibility. Whilst the program was marketed as an honest endeavour to further social good, it was primarily instrumental, and overall the facade of social responsibility was incredibly effective in generating revenue. As both Rebecca and Marina have discussed, there are many treatment programs available for perpetrators of domestic abuse, although, as Rebecca mentioned, these have minimal significant results. As suggested by Marina, as a large range of differences exist among individuals' vulnerabilities to particular behaviour, treatment should be comprehensive and address multiple factors. The workplace has an important role to play in addressing primary prevention of intimate partner violence, particularly in male-dominated industries, to assist with changing a culture of gendered abuse. This may be achieved by monitoring gender segregation vertically and horizontally within an organisation and developing strong policy and procedure for responding to identified risk for gendered discrimination within an organisation. The workplace may also assist with monitoring person-environment fit. A person-environment fit theory predicts a perceived mismatch of person and environment may increase an individual's vulnerability to stress. The monitoring of stress may be especially important for those with identified predisposition to violence or reactivity. It is also appropriate for a workplace to recognise risk factors, respond organisationally, and refer individuals to appropriate services if deemed at risk of committing domestic abuse. Overall, a comprehensive approach to addressing primary prevention of intimate partner violence in Australia may best be achieved through the collaboration of multidisciplinary teams to devise strategies, develop policy and protocol, and also to provide strong and appropriate multidisciplinary referral networks.